content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families.
Trust. It's the foundation of every relationship, whether it's with a spouse, a friend, or even a public figure. But what happens when that trust is shattered in the most shocking way possible? Tonight, we dive into some stories of deception of these wayward women, so outrageous, they sound like something right out of a Hollywood thriller. First, we have a reality TV star caught in a real-life nightmare, a murder-for-hire plot allegedly orchestrated by the person he once vowed to spend forever with. And then these women who spun elaborate webs of lies, faking cancer for sympathy, attention, and cold hard cash. What drives someone to manipulate, betray, and in some cases even try and kill? Buckle up, because this episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot is all about lies, greed, and the devastating cost of deception. Now it's time to start the show. Let's hit it. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. I am your host, Winnie Schrader. Now, cancer has touched each and every one of us. I mean, have you met somebody who hasn't had to deal with it in one form, shape, way, or another? But we also see the toll that it takes on these families, both physically, mentally, and financially. And as a community, we can't take away that pain or the anguish and stuff that comes along with it, but we can help together collectively by financially helping these families, with fundraisers and charities and things like that. Then to find out that all your efforts, time, emotions, money that you put into this was all a ruse, a scam, a con, and to prey upon such a vulnerable group of people who are desperate and yearning for hope. Now, these two wayward women in these cases are, drumroll please, Amanda Riley, the woman behind the Scamanda podcast, and Belle Gibson, the Australian influencer who built an empire on lies. Now, these women faked terminal illnesses, manipulated thousands, and raked in massive amounts of profit, all at the expense of real cancer patients. Now, with Netflix's hit series Apple Cider Vinegar, based on the story of Belle Gibson, along with a documentary called Belle Gibson, The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist, and Hulu and ABC Studios put together a documentary called Scamanda, based off of the Scamanda podcast that was produced by Nancy Moscatello, who was an investigative journalist, along with Charlie Webster, which gave me a glimpse of this disgusting underworld of thieves and con artists. The lack of empathy just astounds me.
You cannot be serious!
So you better just grab yourself something on the rocks with this one, because this is going to make your blood boil. Now let's start with Amanda Riley, better known as Scamanda. Now, if you haven't listened to the Scamanda podcast, it's a deep dive into how a seemingly devoted Christian woman fabricated a cancer diagnosis for nearly a decade. A decade.
You know her better as Scamanda, the subject of the hottest podcast on the charts right now and a hit TV series. She was the wife and mom and self-professed Christian who told the world that she had terminal cancer and went to elaborate lengths to prove it, right down to the staged hospital pictures and the bogus medical reports. Look at these pictures. Fake. All of them fake. She didn't do it for fun. She did it for the attention and for the cash. Lots and lots and lots of cash. She bilked anyone who would listen, including the people who knew her best and loved her most. And she took as much money and stuff as she could wring out of them all while begging for their sympathy. I'm in pain. My bills. She even scammed her way into getting herself a husband and somebody else's daughter, too. And it was somebody else's husband. She went to prison for it in 2022, and since then, her whole sorry life has been exposed, first in the 8-part podcast Scamanda, and now in a 4-part docuseries on ABC and Hulu.
Now, Riley blogged about her battle, tugging on the heartstrings while collecting donations from her church, community, and followers. But here's the kicker. She never had cancer. Her scam unraveled as investigative journalist Nancy Moscatello started digging into all of her inconsistencies. Now, to sum up Amanda in a nutshell, well, that's not an easy task. There are so many key players that lay victim to Amanda's delusional, deceitful wake, but so much more goes into the story than just faking the illness. I mean, she tried scamming the courts to get child support and custody of her bonus daughter, Jessa. Now, Jessa is Corey's, Amanda's husband's daughter. Now, Corey and Amanda completely trashed Corey's ex-wife, Alita's reputation, suing for custody and making outlandish claims. But here's the weird thing, and it's kind of gross, but Amanda was even a part of their lives while she was still a teenager. When she was 17, Alita's first daughter, Jamie, was diagnosed with cancer. And at this time, Alita's friend knew a young woman that worked at a gym that they would like to have come over and teach Jamie and Jessa dance and cheers and gymnastics and stuff, just to kind of give Jamie some hope and uplifting things to do while she's going through her cancer treatments. When Alita and Corey divorced, they were sharing 50-50 custody of Jessa. And then all of a sudden, Amanda and Corey are a couple? So you can only imagine how that played out. Then all of a sudden, Amanda gets cancer. So let the con begin. Her community, especially for her church community, really stepped up for the Riley family, asking for thousands of dollars for her treatments, clinical trials, expenses, blogging about her story, gaining followers and supporters. The lengths she would go to keep this charade going, post images of her in the hospital, during treatments, etc. Now, looking in hindsight, you could easily snap a picture of being in the ER and just post it anywhere and everywhere with whatever caption you want. So that isn't that far-fetched. Now, the one enigma is Corey, whose involvement in this scheme is still in question. He claims he knew nothing about this fraud and scam. Now, the one key player in this is Lisa Berry. Now, she was a former friend and neighbor of Amanda and Corey in the beginning of their marriage. Now, Lisa was the whistleblower that reached out to Nancy Moscatello, who was actively investigating stories where people faked cancer for profit. Now, as Corey and Amanda started reaching out for help, the Berrys helped out financially. They did what they could. Then what cast doubt on her diagnosis was at a pool party one day. Amanda showed up and joined in the pool fun. Then Lisa noticed a small round Band-Aid behind Amanda's ear. And when she asked about it, Amanda said that she was just at the hospital and she had fluid drained off her brain. That would take a little bit more of a hospital stay and clearly not just a Band-Aid to cover it up, than immediately get in a pool. But with Lisa reaching out to Nancy, finally started the ball rolling that eventually Amanda pled guilty and was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 5 years in prison. But the real damage here, the trust shattered by those who truly cared for Amanda and the real cancer patients whose struggles were overshadowed by her lies. Now we're going to go ahead down under to Australia to check out what Belle Gibson was up to. Now, Belle Gibson was the Australian wellness warrior who built an entire brand around curing her terminal brain cancer through diet and holistic healing. Now, her app, The Whole Pantry, was promoted by Apple, and it even had a book deal. Now, she convinced thousands of people to abandon traditional medicine, claiming that she was proof that alternative treatments worked. And of course, this one too never had cancer. Now, when confronted by journalists about her medical history, she crumbled. The Australian government fined her over 400,000 AUD or whatever their currency is over there, but for misleading consumers. But the worst part was many of her followers were real cancer patients, and they believed in her so deeply that they refused medical treatment, and some of them actually passed away and died. Belle's actions were not just about money, they had real-life consequences. Now, who is Belle Gibson? Now, she's an Australian social media influencer and self-proclaimed wellness advocate. Now, she gained fame through her app, which was a featured app on the new Apple Watch at the time and was like preloaded when they launched the Apple Watch. And she got a book deal with Penguin Books for The Whole Pantry, her cookbook, which promoted holistic lifestyle and claimed to help people heal naturally from their illnesses. Now, her cancer fraud that she claimed had terminal brain cancer and had survived 4 years using natural remedies, including diet and alternative therapies. Now, before her book deal in the app, she built this massive following with people looking up to her for hope and guidance. And then when she later expanded with the app and book deal, it had her influence reach globally and not just in Australia. She initially claimed that she had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer by a doctor in 2009 and had given only 4 months to live. However, she later changed her story multiple times, claiming at different points that her cancer had spread to her blood, spleen, liver, and uterus. Now, when journalists and investigators began scrutinizing her claims, she failed to provide medical records or the name of any legitimate doctor who had diagnosed or treated her for cancer. Now, in 2015, she admitted in an interview with the Australian Women's Weekly that she never had cancer at all. So knowing all this, it does appear that her entire story was fabricated, likely for financial gain and a social media influence. Now, here's the one that really, really gets under my skin and makes me want to just, she had claimed many of portions and earnings from app sales and book sales that she would donate those to various charities and specifically families who couldn't afford life-saving operations for their children with cancer that had to get tumors removed and things like that. Belle would tell them, I will pay for the surgery, and have an agreement or some type of, I don't even know if it was formal or what, but she would tell these families, yeah, go ahead, get the surgery done. I will pay for it. And there were families that had to cancel these surgeries when everything fell apart, knowing that there was actually no money to be had for these surgeries. Through the investigations, found that little to no money was ever donated as promised. Now, Gibson eventually admitted in an interview in the Australian Women's Weekly that she never had cancer. Then Belle interviewed with Tara Brown for 60 Minutes Australia, where Tara stood firm and flat out asked Belle if she ever had cancer. Now, you can tell that Belle was sweating it and trying to think up lies just right on the spot.
That may not be the case. Belle, it's all here.
It is
all here. You know, you go on Instagram in 2013. I have been healing a severe and malignant brain cancer for the past few years with natural medicine, Gerson therapy and foods. It's working for me.
It is. And
Except you didn't have brain cancer.
No, I didn't.
Kudos to Tara Brown, man. Tip of the cap for your journalistic ninja skills, because that was epic to watch. Now, in 2017, her legal consequences she was facing, Australia fined her 410,000 AUD by the Federal Court of Australia for misleading consumers. Now, the court ruled that she had engaged in deceptive conduct by promoting false health claims. To this day, she has reportedly failed to pay the fine. Now, this case highlighted the dangers of misinformation in the wellness industry. It has raised concerns about the unregulated nature of health influencers and the harm caused to people who may have followed her advice instead of seeking medical treatment. Now, companies like Apple and Penguin Books completely cut ties with her after the scandal broke, and I don't blame them. And do you think Belle reflected on her wrongdoings and changed her ways? Nope. Another con is just waiting around the corner for her. Now that she is I guess she's an Ethiopian and is fundraising, I'll just play the video.
My advice is in line with our hero Joa. You know, let's look to the jasa, just like the Gada system teaches us, like our forefathers have taught us, like our leaders are telling us now. Conduct yourself with some safu. Hold yourself. Don't make it worse for our people at this time. Defend yourselves and defend your honor, defend your identity. Sleep with one eye open.
Okay.
So why do people like Amanda Riley and Belle Gibson fake cancer or any illness? Is it just about the money, or is there a deeper issue going on? Now, psychologists suggest that these cases often stem from a condition called Munchausen syndrome, where individuals fake or exaggerate illness for attention and sympathy. Now, most heard of Munchausen by proxy, which is basically the same thing, except you use a child or someone else in place of yourself to gain that attention from others, like faking or causing medical harm to a child to gain that attention that you're seeking. But in these cases, the added element of financial gain just makes it even more insidious. It's a betrayal of human compassion, and most of us see a sick person and want to help. Scammers like Amanda and Belle exploit that instinct, turning kindness into currency. Now, the damage left behind by these women are irreversible. Real cancer patients lost credibility, donors became more skeptical, and people who truly need help were overshadowed by fraudsters. For example, some of the donations that were given to Belle to cover some of these expenses, they were asking for their money back. And they think that all the people that were involved with her were scamming people as well. So it's just not a good place to be in. And I feel so bad that it is such a vulnerable group of people. You guys are, I trust me, my mom died of lymphoma. Dave's mom died of lung cancer. And to know that people are exploiting that to gain money is just disgusting to me. So how can we prevent falling for these scams? Here are a few red flags to look out for. Vague or ever-changing diagnosis. Scammers often provide just enough medical jargon to sound convincing but lack specifics. Refusal to provide medical documentation. While privacy is valid, outright denial to show any proof is kind of sketchy. A sudden shift in treatment methods. When someone claims to be healed by an unconventional means, be very wary. An unverified fundraising. Always donate through legitimate organizations, not just personal accounts. The cases of Amanda Riley and Belle Gibson aren't just shocking, they're maddening. They exploited human empathy, took money that could have gone to real patients, and damaged the public trust. While they both face legal consequences, their scars have left behind won't heal so easily. We do have to take a quick break, but please check out Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.net. You can check out, I'm kind of revamping a couple things on there, especially with my True Crime Collective, where all the authors' books that I've interviewed on my show are easily accessible, along with the link and a link to watch the interview if you want to catch up. But I also have my merch store, so please stop in, take a look. And if you guys have any idea or stuff, shoot them my way. Just email me at mysteriesmayhemandmerlot@gmail.com. Are you feeling lost, stressed, wondering if Mercury is ruining your life again, or the universe is just ghosting you? Well, you're not alone. At Love and Lotus Tarot, I keep it real. No crystal balls, no woohoo, just honest, grounded guidance to help you navigate life's chaos. Whether you need clarity on love, career, or just anything that feels like a mess, I've got you. Visit lovelotustarot.com to book a reading, check out some of the new merch, and find the insight you've been searching for. Because let's be honest, therapy is expensive and my cards are way cooler anyways. So head on over to lovelotustarot.com now and let's figure out this thing called life together. And we're back from the break. Now, this wayward woman hits a little too close to home with us being in the paranormal community. Now, Aaron Goodwin from Ghost Adventures recently found out that his wife, Victoria Goodwin, Since the story broke, Erin just filed for divorce. She was seeking someone to hire to murder Erin. Now, the details are still coming in as we speak, and the investigation is underway to build a criminal case against Victoria. The plot was intercepted by prison guards where they confiscated a burner phone in Grant Amato's cell in Florida and saw that the text messages back and forth between Amato and Victoria. Now, she and the inmate, Grant Amato, are alleged to have put aside $11,000 to pay someone to kill Erin, who we later learned found out about the shocking news on the set of Ghost Adventures while cameras were rolling. Now, here's a little backstory on Grant Amato. He worked as a nurse at the Advent Health Orlando, but was suspended in June of 2018 for alleged misconduct. Now, he developed this infatuation with this Bulgarian cam girl named Sylvia Ventsifilova, or I probably botched that, but anyway, she was known as Sylvie. We'll just stick with that. And he had spent over $200,000 of his family's money on her webcam sessions. The family had sent him to rehab for his internet and pornography addiction, costing them an additional $15,000. Now, upon returning home, he was prohibited from contacting Sylvie, but continued in secret, leading to the increase of family tensions. Dude, you're a grown-ass man. Act like it. On January 24th, 2019, he fatally shot his mother, Margaret, father, Chad, and brother, Cody, at their Florida home. Now, he attempted to stage the scene as a murder-suicide committed by his brother, but he was captured on January 26, 2019, after a 24-hour manhunt. Now, his trial began July 15th of 2019 and was found guilty of all 3 counts of first-degree murder, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, he was the subject of the docuseries Control-Alt-Desire, which premiered on Paramount Plus back in April of last year. Now, he was also featured in an episode of Killer Cases titled Murder on the Sex Cam Model, Season 2, Episode 2, and that aired on February 25th, 2022. Now, going full circle back to today, with Amato in the picture, Amato was implicated in the murder for hire plot with Victoria Goodwin, wife of Ghost Adventures, Erin Goodwin. Now, the two allegedly conspired to hire a hitman for that $11,000 they had saved away to kill Erin, communicating while Amato was incarcerated. Now, Victoria Goodwin was arrested on those charges of solicitation and conspiracy to commit murder. I mean, seriously. She even sent this Amato guy his filming schedule and locations. So it was supposed to happen and go down like at some location that they were filming for the new season of Ghost Adventures coming up. I can't imagine what Erin is going through right now. But just to know that, you know, the Paranormal 60 and Mysteries Mayhem Merlot and our Darklings, we give you nothing but love, Erin, and support. And like I said, I'm at loss for words with this one. This she is something else, but I will definitely keep you guys up to date on any information that comes away with this case, because I'm sure there's more, more stuff is going to be coming out as they go through the investigation. I mean, to just think about this phrase makes my stomach turn. Faking cancer for profit. It's a cruel con, a lie wrapped in desperation or greed. And it does have real-world impactful consequences that ripple far beyond the scam artists themselves. I mean, look at Belle Gibson. I mean, she built an entire empire on a lie, claiming she could cure cancer through diet and lifestyle. She sold her cookbook, which her cookbook alone, it just could have been a healthy cookbook. She didn't have to fabricate a whole story around this cookbook. It would have stood on its own. And then they developed the app. That would have stood on its own. But she stood in the public eye, a beacon of false hope to those who actually were fighting for their lives, and to not have genuine remorse for what she did. Well, there's a special place in hell for people like that. Even the case of Amanda Riley, the so-called warrior who spent 7, 8 years weaving an intricate web of lies, claiming she was undergoing grueling cancer treatments while pocketing donations from kind-hearted people who just wanted to help. Meanwhile, real cancer patients, men, women, and children, were struggling to afford legitimate treatments, fighting for their lives while fraudsters cashed in on their suffering. Now, these aren't just elaborate lies, these are betrayals. They siphon funds away from those who desperately need them. They create a sense of cynicism and doubt in a world where trust is already fragile. Imagine being a cancer patient watching someone like Belle Gibson rake in the cash and sympathy while you can't afford your next round of chemotherapy. Imagine being the loved one of someone lost to cancer and seeing their suffering trivialized by a scam. The impact is deep, it's personal, and it's frickin' sickening. But then on the other side of the coin, you have another whole kind of deception. The kind that twists love into something unrecognizable and something deadly. I mean, we all know Aaron Goodwin from Ghost Adventures, but some people don't really know his wife, Victoria, who tried to have him killed. That's right. This wasn't just an ugly divorce or a bitter breakup. I mean, she legitimately tried hiring someone to take her husband out. Even though it's still kind of murky waters, what is very clear, it's a horrifying truth knowing that sometimes the person sleeping next to you is capable of plotting your demise. Now, these kind of betrayals, whether it's faking cancer for profit or orchestrating murder, cut to the very core of what makes us human: trust. When that trust is shattered, it leaves behind devastation that can't be measured in dollars or headlines. It destroys lives. It breeds paranoia. It makes us question everything and everyone. So what do? How do we protect ourselves? We just got to stay informed. We got to call fraud out when we see it and support real victims, not con artists looking for a payday. We remind ourselves that darkness exists, but so does light. And that's where you guys come in. But, you got to be vigilant and you got to do your due diligence and research these organizations that you want to donate money to. Now, one thing cancer patients do, a lot of times they do have to prepare for that, the end of life stuff, knowing that they're terminal. But a lot, like with my mother, she passed away from lymphoma back in 2017. And she told us if anything happened to her, instead of flowers and things like that, she wanted funds to be donated to the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society. So when she passed, and I, told everybody that she passed, I go, in lieu of flowers, please make donations to the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society. And I raised about $600. So I know it's not much, but it's something. But it was a legitimate organization. So always make sure you cross-reference. Now, if you do have somebody in your circle, you may not know them too much, but they may be a friend of a friend. And if there is some type of private group to raise funds for a family with cancer or something like that, just do a little bit of extra legwork and, reach out to people that may know them more personally and see if, is this a trustworthy thing that I can donate to? It's okay to ask, and it's sad that we have to ask because of assholes like these people. But it's sad that we have to, but you got to do your due diligence and do the research so you don't get scammed. So, with that being said, what are some of your thoughts on these cases? Have you ever been encountered by a medical scam or been involved or found out or like someone that had a murder for hire plot? Let me know. Reach out to me. Hit my link tree. You can hit me up there. You can find me on all my social medias along with my other websites, my Love and Lotus Tarot, along with my WS Media. But yeah, go and check it out. And please, guys, comment and share and give me your thoughts on this, because I have a feeling these cases, they're still going to kind of keep going through this year. So we'll probably be talking about these a lot. But I hope you enjoyed the show this evening, and I hope to see you guys all next week.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.